Welcome to Dawn Chorus Writes Miraculous Ladybug Fanfiction. This is a one-shot called Is This Love? Where Adrian starts to really question what love truly is. If you've enjoyed this one, make sure you check out the links below for other one-shots and the series Meeting Under the Stars. Make sure you smash that like button, please. Subscribe for more so you don't miss out. And I hope you enjoy. Bye. Is this love? Adrian and Chat Noir POV. It was Valentine's Day in the City of Love, as the people took to the frosted streets, keeping warm and snuggled against their loved ones. Chat Noir strolled down one of the side streets and watched the people as they ambled past, unaware of him and consumed in their own happiness. Is this love? He muttered to himself. He had been Chat Noir for 4 years now, which meant he had been in love with Ladybug for 4 years. But was that love? At the start of their relationship, he'd fallen fast for the charms of his Ladybug, believing what he felt was all-consuming love. Heart beating fast in the chest as he saw her, couldn't stop thinking about her when she wasn't near, the pang in his chest at missing her. He had showered her with gifts, mostly flowers, believing that would be the way into her heart. And yet, over those years as Adrian, he had seen relationships shift and morph into something else, not knowing what was truly love. He'd been a boyfriend, but that hadn't felt like he had expected it to feel. It hadn't been what the movies told him it should be. He had loved spending time with Kagami, stealing moments with her, having similar interests. But he hadn't felt the pang, the spark he had felt with Ladybug. He couldn't help comparing it to his friends, Ali and Nino, how they found each other and created something special. Was that love? When he was younger, he had watched his mother and father protect and adore each other. But when his mother had disappeared and his father along with her in an emotional sense, becoming distant and cut off from the world and his son, was that love? Over the years, his relationship with Ladybug had changed as he grew to know parts of her, yet there was always this barrier between them of not getting too close because of their secret identities. Ali had once said to him she couldn't love someone behind the mask because she wouldn't know who they were. He loved his partnership with Ladybug. He loved how smart she was, how she would wrinkle her nose at his jokes, how she would do the sweetest of things and slight gestures, and knew she trusted him above all. Was that love? He had wanted to get Ladybug a small gift to say he was thinking of her today, but this morning he had woken questioning what it should say, mean to their relationship. After all the rejections, was it still love? Tonight he had plans with Marinette as Chat Noir. The usual movie night had fallen on Valentine's Day this year and kept to it. Neither in a relationship with other people meant they could have a friendship day, was what she had called it. Friends. He looked forward to the nights together, giggling at the films as they baked or made hot chocolate during the winter months, hiding behind a blanket during the Halloween scary movie marathon. She declared he couldn't be scared of Freddy as he was Chat Noir, the protector of Paris. He simply replied, "Thankfully, none of the Akuma victims look like that." causing her to descend in a stomach-clenching laughter that made his spirits soar and act out a scene of him protecting her against the evil monster. That night he had never laughed so hard, tears streaming down his face. Before sleeping, Marinette had demanded watching a light-hearted film so that Freddy wouldn't visit her dreams. They had ended the night curled up watching some sort of romantic Hallmark film, and he couldn't help watching her sleep beside him, vowing to himself and the world that he would never let Freddy or any other evil monster invade her dreams, not whilst he was around. That couldn't be love, could it? Chat arrived at the small craft shop, gazing at the handmade Valentine's card that were still left on the shelf. Some had red hearts on them, some had pictures of teddies holding a sign declaring their love. Some simply had raised lettering spelling out love. None of them, though, expressed his now questioning feelings about Ladybug. One caught his eye at the bottom of the shelf with a black kitten on the front, and underneath, "I think you're perfect." And an image of Marinette popped into his head, of her smiling at the cat with his oversized round eyes. Suddenly, an arm reached out in front of him, grabbing a card with a heart on it. "Sorry, excuse me." A woman smiled at Chat and then glanced down at the card he was holding. She raised her eyebrows at him. Feeling the colour rising in his cheeks, Chat quickly replied, "For a friend. Just a friend." "Oh, not Ladybug?" the woman remarked with a slight curiosity. "Nope." Chat gave her an awkward smile, grabbing an envelope before walking towards the till. A few shops down, he stopped by an all-in-one music and video shop to buy a film for tonight's viewing. They took turns picking the main film to watch, and tonight it was his turn. He glanced through the aisles, contemplating picking a Disney film, or perhaps a romantic chick flick, but became worried Marinette might think he was implying something. He knew she didn't see him in that way, and in the present moment, he didn't know what he felt. Then the perfect film caught his eye. It was a classic romance without the pressure, and the leading actress was one of Marinette's favourites. A burst of excitement filled his body at seeing her face as he presented her with Roman Holiday and the card. Their relationship had become natural over the years. He looked forward to spending his Friday nights with her and being himself as they laughed and danced and baked and cuddled. Marinette was a different person than she was at school. When he was Adrian around her, she barely spoke to him. He had caught her a few times smiling at him, but how he wished he could talk to her like he did on that one night a week. Then it hit him. She was the one person he wished he could tell his secrets to. For a while, he understood Ladybug's strict rules for not knowing each other's secret identities for the sake of families and friends. How Hawkmoth tried going after Ali and Nino once learning theirs, imagining what he would do if he learnt either of theirs, Ladybug and Chat Noir's. No, it was safer this way, and yet he found himself wishing he could have Friday nights every night. He stopped in Leon's cheese shop and picked up a little gift for Plag, and then made his way over to the bakery. He ambled through the park next to Marinette and got flustered, hot and sweaty, suddenly at the thought of seeing her. His heart pounded in his chest at the thought of his hand, even in his suit, brushing against hers, and don't get him started at the thought of all those times they curled up together. He needed to sit down. What was happening to him? He collapsed on a nearby bench, staring at the card and DVD in his hand. Why was he nervous about seeing her? being close to her, talking to her with those big blue eyes and cute nose and adorable laughter at his stupidest jokes and cat puns. "May I?" An old lady lowered herself down next to him, not waiting for an answer. "Good evening." Chat smiled at her as she pulled a brown paper bag out of her purse, which was filled with seeds. "Good evening to you, young man. Are you on your way to a date?" She glanced down at the gifts he was holding. "That's one of my favorites." I don't think so. We're friends." "Oh, friends. That's a good way to start out a relationship. My husband and I were friends first and ended up married for 52 years. Cherish that friendship. It will see you through the hard times." "Can I ask, how did you know when it changed from friendship to love?" Chat found he couldn't hold the lady's gaze and stared at the various birds forming around them. "My mother told me, and I'm going to tell you the same thing. You know it's love when you can happily spend the entire night simply watching them sleep. A sense of peace washes over you, and there is nowhere else in the world you'd rather be. That is love." The memory of the night he had sworn to protect Marinette from evil dreams, how he'd watched the moonlight highlight part of her freckles and shimmer across her black hair. No, that can't be love, can it? It looks to me you know what I'm talking about. If so, hold on to that and don't be afraid of your love for that person. The birds edged closer as Chat let out a large sneeze. That was his cue to leave, and he didn't want to be late. "Thank you for your advice. I hope it helped." She gave him a soft smile and then grabbed a handful of seeds, scattering them to the ground. A gleeful smile spread across his lips and the nervousness had disappeared. "It has. Thank you. And happy Valentine's Day." Instead of doing his usual turning up at the back door, this time he thought he would jump up on the balcony and surprise her. He peered through the window and gazed down at her, leant over her sewing desk. She was fiddling with a green thread on black fabric. The low light from her working desk highlighted her black hair and cheeks as she pulled various expressions, trying to figure something out. He could lose time watching her as she worked, but that might seem strange without her realizing. He let out a little chuckle and tapped on the window. At the unexpected sound, Marinette jumped in her seat and then glanced behind her. At the sight of him, she quickly placed what was in her hand into a nearby bag. Opening the window for him, she gave him a disgruntled stare that soon flowed into a smile, causing his heart to sing. "Good day, my princess." Chat landed next to her bed. "Kitty, you're meant to use the door." "I know, but I couldn't help myself." He gave her a sly wink that he swore made her cheeks pink. "It must be freezing out there for you." "I know what will warm you up." She dashed down to her ladder and over to her desk. When she had spoken the words, an image of her embracing him into her arms, feeling her warmth and comfort. He used every restraint he had not to hold his arms out to her. Where was this coming from? He jumped down to join her as she turned back round and held out the bag for him. The blush on her cheeks had turned slightly darker. It's just a little something. Her eyes kept darting from the present to his soft stare of wonder. You made it, he remarked in awe. Of course, as if he needed to ask. You didn't have to. He held her gaze, being drawn into her large bluebell eyes, edging closer to her. Open it, will you? She said excitedly, breaking the trance. Inside was the black fabric he had just spotted moments earlier with sprinkles of green thread. The bag dropped to the rug as he held up the hooded jumper. A neon green paw print was embroidered on the front. It was amazing. He stared up at his princess, who seemed bashful, waiting for a response from him. His words failed him. Instead, he flung his arms around her. Thank you so much. I love it. He released his hold a fraction, but still close enough he could kiss her. Caught in the trap of her gaze and those rosy pink lips, he wanted to lean in so much. Put it on! I want to see what it looks like on you. Her words once again broke the trance. Oh, yes, of course. He let go of her and slipped the jumper over his head. It was warm and cozy to the touch, and it held a smell of sweet vanilla. Pull the hood up, she chuckled, as he followed her instructions and saw 2 cat ears sewn on the top. He thought of the small gifts he had brought with him, he had tucked into the back of his belt. How could Roman holiday compare to this thoughtful, amazing gift? But why? Why had she taken the time and love to craft this for him? For a friend? Could it be? Does it mean? Is this love? No, of course not. Marinette was a thoughtful person. He had seen her craft a gift for her friends all the time at school. So why did this feel different? Princess, this is everything. Thank you. He watched as she turned a deep shade of crimson at the compliment and brushed it away as if it was nothing. She didn't believe how good she was. He grabbed her waving hand and held it in his, catching her eyes, locking them into his. Truly, I love. What film did you get? She slipped her hand out of his as the words broke the trance yet again. His heart dropped with a thud as if he'd just received a punch from an akumatized victim. Oh, yeah, you'll never guess. He reached his hand from around his back and dropped it into her outstretched hands. Roman holiday! Shad, that's perfect! She let out a giddy laugh. I have wanted to watch this film for a while, ever since we watched Breakfast at Tiffany's. You know me so well. She noticed the card underneath the DVD. And what's this? You got me a card? Aw, he's a cutie, much like my Chat Noir. She smiled at him and flicked his bell, causing his heart to somersault in his chest. She opened up the card and read out the message inside. Happy Valentine's Day, my princess. I couldn't imagine spending it with anyone else. All my love, your Prince Chat. Surprise and confusion washed over her face, followed by a smile. Chat. Was this the moment he would wrap his arms around her and kiss her? Was this love? Shall we? She turned her head from him and made an excuse to walk to the other side of the room. Maman brought up some treats to eat. She held out the plate awkwardly in front of her and then gestured to the nest of pillows and blankets she had created on the floor for them. Her laptop sat on the small coffee table as Chat did his usual thing of setting it up for them. They became lost in the black and white world, the princess deciding to escape from her world and running into Gregory Peck's character Joe. Finding the daft antics of the characters hilarious helped to release the tension between them. Chat watched how the Audrey Hepburn princess character threw her potential prince cute smiles and small gestures to the point of falling in love. Was that the path to love? And was he on it? Distracted by his own thoughts, Chat failed to notice what was happening on the screen, so when Marinette jumped into the air, screaming, he grabbed hold of her and pulled her into a protective embrace. "Chat, what are you doing?" Marinette looked flustered, her face next to his, and then burst out laughing, causing him to chuckle. "Then what did you scream at?" Realizing he still had his arms wrapped around her, he released his hold on her, but was surprised when she didn't do the same. "What? Did you not see it?" She gave him a playful smile and reached one hand to the small mouse pad on the laptop, rewinding back the scene before leaning back into his embrace. From the corner of his eyes he watched her, watching him, unable to remove the grin from his face. He watched the moment the character Joe played a trick on the princess and pretended to lose his hand in a statue. "That made you scream and jump into my arms." The grin softened at the edges as he became lost in her gaze. "I thought you said you'd protect me," she breathed. "Always, my princess. I would not let no one or anything harm you, even if they are statues on the other side of the screen." He inched his face a little closer, knowing the excitement he was feeling was expressed on his face. "I'm pleased to hear that, my good prince." Marinette closed the gap, and before they knew what was happening, their arms were wrapped around each other and he tasted the creamy vanilla on her lips and the sugar from the pastries. He pulled back breathless, fearful of seeing her expression of remorse, but there wasn't one. Instead, she lowered her head onto his shoulder and giggled at the next part of the film as the couple got into a bar fight. "I could see you being scrappy like that," he whispered into her ear. "Oh, you have no idea." "In time you will." She chuckled at her own little joke. "What's that to mean?" "One day you'll see." "I'm not going anywhere," he breathed, holding his arms around her, hearing her make a contented sigh. By the end of the film, the man and woman had fallen in love, as he realized Marinette had fallen asleep in his arms. He pushed back her fringe and gazed at her peaceful expression as she slept. This was love. He knew it in every part of his being that he was in love with Marinette. And one day soon, he would tell her. Right now, he was simply happy to be in the moment and to watch her sleep. Thank you for listening. Is This Love? Miraculous Ladybug Fanfiction One-shot. I hope you enjoyed it. Smash that like button, please. Show me some love. Subscribe for all the other one-shots I've done, future ones and series. And I will see you soon. Bye.